Hey guys, happy Friday. We made it through the week. Man, what a week. Looking forward to reading to you guys tonight. Last night we ended with Gandalf talking to Bilbo and some of the dwarves, not thinking that Bilbo Baggins had enough in him to be an expert treasure hunter. So we'll start with leaving off with Gandalf. Hello to all three of you who are with us right now. That's right, said Gandalf. Let's have no more argument. I have chosen Mr. Baggins, and that ought to be enough for all of you. If I say he is a burglar he is, or will be when the time comes. There is a lot more in him than you guess, and a deal more than he has any idea of himself. You may, possibly, all live to thank me yet. Now, Bilbo, my boy, fetch the lamp, and let's have a little light on this. On the table, in the light of a big lamp with a red shade, he spread a piece of parchment, rather like a map. This was made by Thror, your grandfather, Thorin, he said in answer to the dwarves' excited questions. It is a plan of the mountain. I don't see that this will help us much, said Thorin disappointedly after a glance. I remember the mountain well enough in the land about it, and I know where Mirkwood is, and where the withered heath, where the great dragons bred. There is a dragon marked in red on the mountain, said Balin, but it will be easy enough to find him without that, if we ever arrive there. There is one point that you have not noticed, said the wizard, and that is the secret entrance. You see that rune on the west side and the hand pointing to it from the other runes? The marks a hidden passage to the lower halls. Look at the map at the beginning of this book, and you will see there the runes. Well, let's look. Secret passage. I'll see if I can point it out to you guys. Mountains of Mirkwood. I don't quite see all of what they're looking for, but here is the mountains that they're talking about, right here. So we're a long ways off. Oh, here's what they're looking at. Sorry. Second one. This definitely has some ruins. There you go. That's a better map of the actual mountain. Hello, everybody. Oh, I'm so excited to see you guys. Anyways. We saw the ruins. It may have been secret once, said Thorin, but how do we know what it is secret any longer? Old Smaug has lived there long enough now to find out anything there is to know about those caves. He may, but he can't have used it for years and years. Why? Because it is too small. 5 feet high the door, and 3 may walk abreast, say the runes. But Smaug could not creep into a hole that size, not even when he was a young dragon. Certainly not after devouring so many of the dwarves and men of Dale. It seems a great big hole to me, squeaked Bilbo, who had no experience of dragons and only of hobbit holes. He was getting excited and interested again, so that he forgot to keep his mouth shut. He loved maps, and in his hall there hung a large one of the country road round with all his favorite walks marked on it in red ink. How could such a large door be kept secret from everybody outside, apart from the dragon? He asked. He was only a little hobbit, you must remember. In lots of ways, said Gandalf. But in what way this one has been hidden, we don't know without going to see. From what it says on the map, I should guess there is a close door that has been made to look exactly like the side of the mountain. That is the usual dwarves' method. I think that is right, isn't it? Quite right, said Thorin. Also, went Gandalf, I forgot to mention that with the map went a key. A small and curious key. Here "It is," he said, and handed it to Thorin, a key with a long barrel and an intricate wards made of silver. "Keep it safe." "Indeed I will," said Thorin, as he fastened it upon a fine chain that hung about his neck and under his jacket. Now things had begun to look more hopeful. "This news alters that much for the better. So far we have had no clear idea what to do. We thought of going east, as quiet and careful as we could, as far as the Long Lake. After that, the trouble would begin." "A long time before that, if I know anything about the roads east," interrupted Gandalf. "We might go up from there along the river running," went on Thorin, taking no notice, "and so to the ruins of Dale, the old town in the valley there, under the shadow of the mountain. But we none of us like the idea of the front gate. The river runs right out of it through the great cliff at the south of the mountain, and it comes to the dragon too, far too often, unless he has changed his habits." "That would be no good," said the wizard. "Not without a mighty warrior, even a hero. I tried to find one, but warriors are busy fighting one another in distant lands, and in this neighborhood heroes are scarce, or simply not to be found. Swords in these parts are mostly blunt, and axes are used for trees, and shields are cradles or dish covers, and dragons are comfortably far off, and therefore legendary. That is why I settled on burglary, especially when I remembered the existence of a side door. And here is our little Bilbo Baggins the burglar, the chosen and selected burglar. So now, let's get on and make some plans." "Very well, then," said Thorin. "Supposing the burglar expert gives us some ideas or suggestions." He turned with mock politeness to Bilbo. "First, I should like to know a bit more. Oh, sorry, wrong person. First, I should like to know a little bit more about things," he said, feeling all confused and a bit shaky inside. But so far, still, Tookish determined to go on with things. I mean, about the gold and the dragon and all that, and how it got there, and who it belongs to, and so on and further." "Bless me," said Thorin. "Haven't you got a map? And didn't you hear our song? And haven't we been talking about all this for hours?" "All the same, I should like it plain and clear," he said obstinately, putting on his business manner, usually reserved for people who tried to borrow money off of him, and doing his best to appear wise and prudent and professional and live up to Gandalf's recommendation. "Also, I should like to know about risks, out-of-pocket expenses, time required and remuneration, and so forth." By which he meant, what am I going to get out of it, and am I going to come back alive? "Oh, very well," said Thorin. "Long ago, in my grandfather Thor's time, our family was driven out of the far north, and came back with all that wealth and their tools to this mountain on the map. It had been discovered by my far ancestor, Thrain the Old. But now they mined and they tunneled and they made hunger halls and great workshops. And in addition, I believe they found a good deal of gold and a great many jewels too. Anyway, they grew immensely rich and famous, and my grandfather was king under the mountain again, and treated with great reverence by the mortal men who lived to the south, and were gradually spreading up the running river as far as the valley overshadowed by the mountain. They built the merry town of Dale, Dale there in those days. Kings used to send for our smiths, and rewarded even the least skillful most richly. Fathers would beg us to take their sons as apprentices, and pay us handsomely, especially in food supplies, which we never bothered to grow or find for ourselves. Altogether, those were good days for us, and the poorest of us had money to spend and to lend, and leisure to make beautiful things just for the fun of it, not to speak of the most marvelous and magical toys, the like of which is not to be found in the world nowadays. So my grandfather's hall became full of armor and jewels, and carvings and cups, and the toy market of Dale was the wonder of the north. Undoubtedly, that was what brought the dragons. Dragons steal gold and jewelry, you know, from men and elves and dwarves, wherever they can find them. And they guard their plunder as long as they live, which is practically forever unless they are killed, and never enjoyed a brass ring of it. Indeed, they hardly know a good bit of work from a bad, though they usually have a good notion of the current market value, and they can't make a thing for themselves, not even mend a little loose scale of their armor. There were lots of dragons in the north in those days, and gold was probably getting scarce up there, with the dwarves flying south or getting killed, and all the general waste and destruction that dragons make going from bad to worse. There was a most special greedy, strong, and wicked worm called Smog. One day he flew into the air and came south, the first we heard of. Oh, guys, I really don't want to have to take the comments off. So many have been positive, but please make sure that we are being positive on here. Thank you, guys. The first we heard of it was a noise like a hurricane coming from the north, and the pine trees on the mountain creaking and cracking in the wind. Some of the doors who happened to be outside. I was one lucky, a fine adventurous lad in those days, always wandering about, and it saved my life that day. Well, from a good way off, we saw the dragon settle on our mountain in a spout of flame. Then he came down the slopes, and when he reached the woods, they were all went up in fire. By that time, all the bells were ringing in Dale, and the warriors were arming. The dwarves rushed out of their great gate, but there was the dragon waiting for them. Okay, guys, I'm going to give one more warning. This is supposed to be family friendly. If we can't, I'll have to turn the comments off. Not really what I want to do. There's lots of people that are enjoying it, but we can ruin it for a few. After that, there were no dwarves left inside, and he took all their wealth for himself. Probably for that is the dragon's way. He has piled it all up in a great heap far inside, and sleeps on it for a bed. Later, he used to crawl out of the great gate and come at night to Dale and carry away people, especially maidens, to eat, until Dale was ruined and all the people dead or gone. What goes on there now, I don't know for certain, but I don't suppose anyone lives nearer to the mountain than the far edge of the long lake nowadays. The few of us that were well outside sat and wept in hiding and cursed Smog. And there we were unexpectedly joined by my father and my grandfather with singed beards. They looked very grim, but they said very little. When I asked how they had gotten away, they told me to hold my tongue and said that one day, in the proper time, I should know. And that went away, and we would have to earn our living as best as we could up and down the lands, often sinking as low as blacksmith working or even coal mining. But we have never forgotten our stolen treasure, and even now, when I will allow we have a good bit laid by and are not so badly off. Here Thorin stroked the gold chain round his neck. We still mean to get it back and to bring our curses home to Smog, if we can. I have often wondered about my father's and my grandfather's escape. I see now they must have had a private side door, which only they knew about. But apparently they made a map, and I should like to hear how Gandalf got a hold of it, and why it did not come down to me, the rightful heir. I did not get a hold of it. I was given it, said the wizard. Your grandfather, Thor, was killed, you remember, in the mines of Moria by Asgard, the goblin. Curse his name, yes, said Thorin. And Thrain, your father, went away on the 21st of April, 100 years ago last Thursday, and has never been seen by you since. True, said Thorin. Well, your father gave this to me to give to you, and if I have chosen my own time and worry for handling it over, you could hardly blame me, considering the trouble I had to find you. Your father could not remember his own name when he gave me the paper, and he never told me yours. So on the whole, I think I ought to be praised and thanked. Here, it is, he said, handing the map to Thorin. I don't understand, said Thorin, and Bilbo felt like he would have liked to say the same. The explanation did not seem to explain. Your grandfather, said the wizard slowly and grimly, gave the map to his son for safety before he went to the mines of Moria. Your father went away to try his luck with the map after your grandfather was killed, and lots of adventures of a most unpleasant sort he had, but he never got near the mountain. How he got there, I don't know, but if I found him a prisoner in the dungeons of the necromancer. Whatever were you doing there? Asked Thorin with a shudder, and all the dwarves shivered. Never you mind, I was finding things out as usual, and a nasty, dangerous business it was. Even I, Gandalf, only just escaped. I tried to save your father, but it was too late. He was witless and wandering and had forgotten almost everything, except the map and the key. We have long ago paid the goblins of Moria, said Thorin. We must give a thought to the necromancer. Don't be absurd. He is an enemy far beyond the powers of all the dwarves put together. If they could all be collected again from the four corners of the world, the one thing your father wished was for his son to read the map and use the key. The dragon and the mountain are more than big enough tasks for you. Hear, hear, said Bilbo, and accidentally said it out loud. Hear what? They all said, turning suddenly towards him, and he was so flustered that he answered, Hear what I've got to say. What's that? They asked. Well, I should say that you ought to go east and have a look around. After all, there is the side door, and dragons must sleep sometimes, I suppose. If you sit on the doorstep long enough, I dare say you will think of something. And, well, don't you know, I think that we have talked long enough for one night, if you see what I mean. What about bed and an early start and all that? I will give you a good breakfast before you go. Before we go, I suppose you mean, said Thorin. Aren't you the burglar? And isn't sitting on the doorstep your job? Not to speak of getting inside the door. But I agree about bed and breakfast. I like 6 eggs with my ham when starting on a journey. Fried, not poached. And mind you don't break 'em. After all the others had ordered their breakfast without so much as a please, which annoyed Bilbo very much, they all got up. The Hobbit had to find room for them all and filled all his spare rooms and made beds on chairs and sofas before he had gotten them all stowed and went to his little own bed, very tired and not altogether happy. One thing he did make his mind up about was not to bother to get up very early and cook everybody else's wretched breakfast. The Tookishness was wearing off, and he was not now quite so sure that he was going on any journey in the morning. As he lay in his bed, he could hear Thorin still humming to himself in the bedroom next to him. Far over the misty mountains cold, to dungeons deep and caverns old, we must away ere break of day to find a long forgotten gold. Bilbo went to sleep with that in his ears, and it gave him very uncomfortable dreams. It was long after break of day when he woke up. And I think we'll end there as we are on to chapter 2. It is called Roast Mutton. This is our last reading for the week. We'll start back on Monday again. Enjoy your weekends. I challenge you guys to read your own books over the weekend, right? Still trying to do 15 minutes every day, especially my Cardinal Time kids. Bring your family into it. Read it to your family, right? And know you guys are all loved. Have a good night, guys. Bye.